Good morning. Good morning, my beautiful friends. Happy awesome Saturday. Happy awesome Saturday. It is Saturday. Saturday is awesome. We are here to celebrate the Sabbath. We're here to rest and relax and set aside all of our constant striving to do more and to have more. And we are setting it all aside so that we can just simply be. And I want to say thank you guys so much for coming to the Awesome Saturday service. Today, we are talking about the Sabbath. We are talking about the Holy Sabbath in particular. In Genesis 2:3, which is a pretty early part of the Bible, pretty early part of Jewish tradition, and of course the Muslims also hold Genesis as being canon. But in one of the very early parts of this religious document, it says, God blessed the seventh day and made it holy because on it God rested. So God blessed the seventh day because God rested on the seventh day. God had previously done 6 days of creation, 6 days, which, like, let's be real, this creation didn't tire God out. God didn't require a rest because God was tired. Omnipotent beings don't get tired. But God nevertheless rested on that seventh day and then declared that seventh day as being holy. And so on the seventh day, we we focus on doing spiritual things. I mean, when I grew up, so I grew up in a Protestant Christian, or at least Protestant Christian adjacent. My dad had a healthy disrespect or distrust of organized religion, being as how he was a bit of a theologian. My dad was theologically trained, and let me tell you, there ain't nothing that'll make you distrust religion more than being theologically trained. Um, but we grew up adjacent to Protestant Christianity, and so we especially being homeschooled and went to church groups and stuff like that, ran into a whole lot of conservative religious folks over the course of my youth, but never really 100% bought into the whole Sunday church thing. I remember we did it when we were younger because my dad had to, because he was in seminary, and that was just a part of being in seminary. Was my dad had to attend a church, but he never really liked it. We never really found a church home the way that a lot of people find a church home. And so the fact of the matter is that I grew up having this understanding that there was like one day that we were to just not work, and that day, at least when I was growing up, was Sunday, and Sunday was the day that we went to church, or the day that we just didn't do anything. But we also really didn't work on Sundays either. And so you know in the end, I've eventually decided that Saturday was going to be my personal Sabbath. I have personal reasons for that I'll get into here shortly. But in the end, one of the things that I had to come to terms with myself was, you know, what is it that I do? What is a spiritual practice that I do on the Sabbath? And perhaps if I were to just take God as my example, what if the most spiritual thing I could possibly do on the Sabbath is nothing at all? What if resting on the Sabbath is what I do on the Sabbath? What if just following my leader and doing following the example of God and resting is what I do? And so that is what I've decided to do on the Sabbath. On my awesome Saturday that I observe as the Sabbath, I don't do anything. I don't make plans for my awesome Saturday. I don't work on awesome Saturday. I don't create money or dream my dreams or do anything at all that I think is unpleasant on awesome Saturday. If I don't love it, I don't do it. And that includes the awesome Saturday service. I love doing the awesome Saturday service. It's a lot of fun. And if it wasn't fun, I wouldn't be here. And so there's a pattern in creation, and I've talked about it in the past, how we are creative beings, how we are always created, how or we are always creating, how we are made in the image and likeness of God, who is creative. That one of the first things that we came to understand about God is that God is creative. In the beginning, God created, and so the fact is that at least in the Genesis story, which once again is a creation tradition that is shared by three major world religions and countless minor religions as well. But in this pattern, God created for 6 days, and so for 6 days God created stuff, and then God rested. And God didn't rest because God was tired. Are you not resting, my little one? She's making all kinds of fun sounds. God didn't rest because God is tired. God rested, in my view, because it serves to sanctify that stillness. Elsewhere in the Bible, it says, "Be still and know that I am God." My mom once told me, she had that written on her wall, and she said, "There's a lifetime of meditation in that. Be still and know that I am God." Like, yeah, what there really is, because we feel like we're supposed to be working, working, working throughout our whole lives, and yet our lives still tend to proceed pretty well despite all the chaos of the world around us. So I believe that God rested in order to sanctify that stillness, in order to sanctify rest, in order to say, yes, it's good to work. I've worked for 6 days. Also, it's good to be still. Also, it's good to rest. Also, it's good to not be working. It's good to do this and also to do that. Because rest isn't a pause. Rest is a purpose. Rest is a holy act of creation, in the same way that all the stuff that we intentionally do is also an act of creation. And so we honor Saturday as the Sabbath because it aligns with the traditional seventh day in modern calendars. Like, look at your calendar. Sunday is day one and Saturday is day seven. And then the week begins on Sunday and it ends on Saturday. And it's been that way forever. And but the thing is, and this is probably not going to come as a revelation to anybody, but we were not there at original creation. Okay, and so I was not there when God said, "Let there be light," and if I wasn't there in my current form. That's for sure. So therefore, it is very, very likely that over the course of the millennia, humanity has lost count of what day is the seventh day. We don't really know for certain that Saturday is the seventh day in any more than we know for certain that Sunday is the seventh day. Maybe the seventh day is a Tuesday, and we've just miscounted, and we've just been messing up the Sabbath all along. The fact is that God didn't sanctify Tuesday as being the day. God simply said the seventh day. So take every seventh day. I personally choose Saturday. And I'll tell you the reason that I choose Saturday. Because the power is not in the date. The power is in the intention that we set. Sabbath isn't a time on the clock. Sabbath isn't a day in the week. Sabbath is a moment in our soul. And the reason I chose Saturday is because Saturday, to me, feels restful. And I remember when I really came to this revelation, because for a very long time in my life, I just kind of assumed that Sunday was the Sabbath. That was the religious tradition I grew up in. And so I assumed, well, Sunday's the day everybody goes to church, at least in Protestant Christianity, in Catholic Christianity as well. People go to church on Sunday. Catholics do stuff on Saturday as well. The fact is, though, that there's a whole bunch of people doing stuff, religious service on Sunday, and so therefore I assumed that, well, Sunday is the Sabbath. Well, but the reason that I ended up settling on Saturday as my personal Sabbath, and as the Sabbath that a lot of people around me also celebrate, is because Saturday contains a very unique energetic signature. And to me, Saturday feels like an exhale, like a divine exhale. Like I've been drawing in, I've been breathing in this whole week. And after I get done breathing in and my lungs are completely full, I finally just release all of that breath. And I exhale and I relax, and it feels so good. And because Saturday feels so good, I decided that that was going to be my Sabbath. And to this day, I do not work on Saturdays. I'll work all the time on Sundays. I will not work on a Saturday. And I realized that every single Saturday, and this all happened at a time when it was actually during the coronavirus stuff, when literally all of the days of my week started to blend together. I didn't have work to go to. I didn't have responsibilities. I didn't have to leave my house. I didn't have to do anything. I was just like kind of in a natural state. And I realized that 6 of the days felt very much the same, and there was a seventh day that just felt like it was uncommonly awesome, no matter what. And every time that I looked at the calendar on that seventh day, I realized that it was a Saturday, even though it was completely not tied to my income. It wasn't tied to my career. It wasn't tied to me working. It wasn't tied to money coming in. It wasn't tied to projects. I didn't have any anchors during coronavirus, and I don't think a lot of people did. And despite the fact that I had no anchors at all in my life, I didn't have anybody telling me what day we were worshiping. I didn't have anybody telling me that I had to be in work on Monday. I didn't have any of that stuff. I was just existing. I naturally gravitated towards Saturday as being an awesome day. And that's when I instituted Awesome Saturday as a Sabbath in my life. And it has never, ever gone away since then. And so I kind of came to an understanding, perhaps a revelation, that the Sabbath is an act of corporate worship. Now, I don't mean corporate in the way that corporations, are organized legally. I mean corporate in the way that we do things together. The fact of the matter is that when a lot of us are resting together, we're not just all relaxing on the same day. We are expanding collective consciousness. We are all collectively conscious of the fact that we are resting. We're all collectively conscious of the fact that we are all giving up our responsibilities for like a little bit, for just the smallest amount of time. We are choosing to just relax into being. And when a lot of people are doing the same thing at the same time, it creates tremendous power. And so it's not just about what we do, it's about the fact that we're doing it together. And when we are all doing things together, that that shared experience, that shared rest that we have, especially that happens on a Saturday, it creates a resonance in our lives. The same way that my lovely daughter is creating a resonance through my eardrums as I speak these words. She's super happy. She probably pooped. She just pooped before the service. She's probably pooping again. Because this is the alarm that she sounds when she is pooping. But anyways, uh, so I mentioned how there was like a corporate worship that happens, and I want to talk a little bit about one of the major sects of Christianity called the Catholics. So if you're familiar with Christianity, you probably know that there are two major camps in Christianity. I know, my little one, you're having a blast, aren't you? There are two major camps in Christianity. You have the Catholics and the Protestants. Now, the word Catholic means unity, and all Catholics, if you understand much about Catholicism is very much about ritual. All Catholics read the same scripture, they take the same communion at the same moment, at the same time, worldwide. And so, so when Catholics are listening to a sermon, they're all listening to the same sermon. It's the same exact sermon being preached um, in every single Catholic church on the same day, all the time. And so when they say take the communion, they're all taking the communion. They're all saying the same exact words at the same time, worldwide. And so Catholicism isn't just a tradition. There's a timed unity to it. And a lot of people who don't know about Catholicism don't understand this. They think that, oh, Catholics definitely have a lot of ritual in their spiritual practice. Catholics go to a communion, they go to a mass, they do a confession. Uh, the fact is that when the Catholic priest is at the front of the church speaking the mass, all the Catholic priests are all reading out of the same book at the same exact time, and that's why it's called Catholicism. And so ritual, when it's combined with that synchronization, has a tremendous, tremendous power. And I really want to get to the point here that it's not just, it doesn't just happen in religion. Um, there are lots and lots of social fictions that rule us, and that collective belief itself has a tremendous power. And so that's why the actual day of the Sabbath is not as important as the energy that we bring to the Sabbath. So let me just touch on some of the collective social fictions that rule us. And I think one of the ones that touches basically everybody in this world, unless you live in a cave, is money. Money is a social fiction. There's nothing that makes the green rectangles, or if you're watching from me from a different country, as people sometimes do, the multicolored rectangles that you trade your paycheck for every single week, or that you trade your life for. There's nothing that gives these things inherent power except the belief that they have inherent power, except the belief that they're worth trading our lives for. In the end, we think of the money in our wallets as being our money. The reality, of course, is that all of that money is printed by and empowered by the government that issues it. That money has power, or that money has value to us because we trade our lives for it. It has power because there is a very large group of people with a lot of guns who can kill us or take away our freedoms if we use those green rectangles in a way that is not approved by them. If you print your own green rectangles and start to pass them off as American green rectangles, the Secret Service is going to have some words for you, and it's not going to be very pretty. Again, this is a social fiction. The government itself is a social fiction. We believe that it has power. We empower it. There are people who choose to serve it. There are people who choose to be beholden to it because enough of us believe that it is true. And when enough of us believe that it's true, it does have and hold very real power over our behaviors and consequently power over our lives. The law is another one. The things that, we tend to obey the law regardless of our morality, and regardless of whether or not anybody is watching, because it is the law. When I drive down the street, whether there's a cop there or not, in a 35 zone, I typically going in the realm of 35 miles an hour. I don't walk into stores and steal the stuff in the stores, not because the law says that I shouldn't, but because I personally govern myself, and I say to myself, well, it would not be very sociable of me to do this. I wouldn't want somebody to do that to me, therefore I'm not going to do it to others. But once again, this is a social fiction. These things bind us together because enough people believe that they are true. The law isn't real. Government isn't real. Money isn't real in the physical sense. They are very real, however, because we act like they are real. And I say we because there are people who serve these systems, and they serve them with great zeal. And then we, together in a corporate fashion, support these systems. The Sabbath is the same kind of a thing. It's real because we act like it's real. It's real because enough of us believe that it's real. And so I remember one of the very formative experiences of my life. I went and I attended a court case. And court cases aren't something that people will generally attend on a regular basis, but I had an interest in this court case. And so I attended it. And a lot of people attended this court case because a lot of people were interested in the outcome of this case. And I remember the judge said something fascinating. He looked out at all the people who were gathered, which is an unusual thing in a court case, and he said, the most surprising thing about trials is that they work. And I remember really that hit me deep because here were two very powerful people who were at odds with each other, and they were agreeing to be beholden to the judgment of this other disinterested third party, this guy, in all this pomp and circumstance. All of us went to this special room in this big building that had a dome on the top, and it was made out of marble, and the whole thing was larger than life, and it was meant to impress us with its grandeur and its power. And we all sat in this room, and everybody followed these rules that don't really make any sense except inside of a courtroom, where we all agreed that this one person at the front of the courtroom was the most important person there because they had the wooden hammer and they wore the black robe, and that their rule was enforced by this other guy who was the bailiff, the only person who had the authority to have a gun in that courtroom and could legally kill anybody in that courtroom, that there would be some consequences if they did it, but they could legally kill anybody in that courtroom if they so chose, and would be backed by an even larger power if they did so, if any of us got sufficiently out of line. And so all of us sort of like were actors in a play. All of us were just there playing our roles. The spectators were quiet, and nobody was wearing a hat because apparently that's not something you don't do in a courtroom. The judge was there, and the judge was wearing the black robe because apparently that's what you do in a courtroom. There were places where the people could sit, and places where the witnesses could sit, place where the plaintiff could sit and the defendant could sit. The lawyers, they said specific things at specific times, and there was a code of conduct there, all of which is a social fiction, all of which only worked because everybody there agreed that that was the best way that it could possibly be. All of this happened because everybody agreed on it. And in the end, of course, the hundreds of people who were there could have very easily overwhelmed the bailiff. They could have very easily overwhelmed the judge. All of the people who were there could have very easily become disorderly. And there could have very easily been blood spilled that day because there were a lot of very powerful people in the courtroom. There could have easily been blood spilled after that day if people didn't agree with the judgment of the judge, because once again, there were very powerful people in that courtroom. The fact is, though, that everything ended peacefully. And the fact that everything ended peacefully really did reinforce for me the fact that, yeah, the most surprising thing about that whole play was the fact that it worked. The fact that a whole bunch of very powerful people agreed to be beholden to these arbitrary rules set by arbitrary people and beholden to bigger and larger systems than they were a part that they were a part of, and that we all agree that it is in our best interests as humanity to be beholden to these larger systems. And so, the fact of the matter is that we all had a shared pretending there. And through that shared pretending, we created a very real system that organizes power and that changes human behavior. So belief is like a scaffolding. And once enough people stand on that scaffolding, it holds up weight. The Sabbath is a spiritual scaffolding that holds up our rest and that allows us to really rest into the rhythms of life. This isn't about a courtroom, it's about collective fictions. And the Sabbath itself is also a collective fiction that we buy into for our own benefit. So, I say all this to ask you, what day is the real Sabbath? Because theologians have been arguing about the real Sabbath for a very long time. Some people say it's Saturday. Some people say it's Sunday. Some people say it's Tuesday. Some people say that one day of the week is more special than others, and other people say that all days are special because God created them. But the fact is that no matter what day we choose, no matter for what reasons we choose it, as long as we are choosing it with intention and reverence, the day that we choose to rest becomes the Sabbath. So, man was not made for the Sabbath. The Sabbath was made for man. The Sabbath was made as a place for us to rest. It was made for a place where God sanctified rest as being holy, where God says, I worked for 6 days and I rested for one, therefore you can work for 6 days and rest for one as well. Chill out. So let's not get lost in the calendar. Instead, let's just ask ourselves, am I resting with purpose? Am I synchronizing my spiritual rest with other people? Am I taking one day out of my week to stop working so hard and just rest into being? Am I recharging my batteries? Do I honor what is sacred through the stillness that I am partaking of? God blessed the seventh day and made it holy. And notice, it was God's resting that made the Sabbath holy. And so I encourage you to choose a Sabbath. Choose a day and honor it with rest and share it with a community of other people who also choose that day. And in that way, we are going to step into the rhythm of creation. We're going to honor the ebbs and the flows of creation, and we are going to create something sacred with our rest. We are going to create a type of Catholic worship. And I don't mean Catholic in the sense of Catholicism. I mean Catholic in the sense of togetherness. We are going to create the sacred through our honoring of a day. It is not the day that makes the Sabbath holy. It is the decision to rest that makes the Sabbath holy. And I'm going to go rest today. I'm going to spend my awesome Saturday with awesome people, doing awesome things in awesome places, eating awesome food. And that's how I'm going to celebrate this Saturday. I encourage you guys to celebrate the Sabbath as well. Pick a day, take it, make it holy, and in that way, honor God who also rested on a seventh day. My beautiful friends, I want to say thank you guys so much for being here. Good morning, Mandy. Nice that you made it. Hello to the folks who are watching me on YouTube and on Facebook. And of course, to my lovely and wonderful daughter who's making that what I refer to as the poop coo. That's the that's what I refer to that sound is. That's the I'm full alarm. I'm going to go take care of that. I love you guys. I appreciate you. I think that you're awesome and amazing. Saturday is awesome. We are awesome. Let us celebrate our inherent value and worth. God felt that we were so worthy of rest that God gave us one day a week to do it in. Let's do it. Whether it's today, whether it's Sunday, whether it's Tuesday, it does not matter. Let us just do it together. I love you. I care about you. I appreciate you. And let me tell you, I believe that the rest we do on our Sabbath empowers the whole rest of our week. And so let's do that. Let's rest. Let's relax. Let us stop our constant striving to do more and to be more, and let's just be. I'll talk to y'all Monday at 9 a.m. I'll be back with another awesome Saturday service. Until then, Saturday is awesome. Let's celebrate our inherent value and worth. I'll talk to you guys on Monday at 9 a.m. Until then, I love you. I care about you. I appreciate you. Honor yourself with one day of rest a week, at least. God didn't say that you could only have one. He did say that there is one that's holy. You can take another one too if you need it. All right, so I'll talk to y'all on Monday at 9 a.m. Until then, happy awesome Saturday and aloha from paradise.
Thank